Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/maliciouscompliance, where people conform to the letter but not the spirit of a request. If you're new around here, please do hit subscribe down below so that you never miss out on another video. But for now, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy some malicious compliance. I don't want to pay for the Mai Tais. So recently I started working at a bar and a few people came in and ordered 2 Mai Tais. The girl who usually makes cocktails was sick, so I had to try and make them myself, just following instructions off the cocktail card we had. It wasn't surprising that they didn't turn out quite as they should have, and the people returned them to me saying that they don't want to drink them. No problem there, as I already printed the bill that included the cocktails. I just gave the whole table the next round of beers that they ordered on the house, which was slightly more expensive than the cocktails. As they were leaving and wanted to pay, they saw the Mai Tais on the bill, and the man who was paying told me that he won't pay for that. I tried to explain to them that it isn't advisable for the staff to cancel bills that have already been printed, so I didn't charge them for the 5 beers they had later. But he insisted that they won't pay for the cocktails. So I got back to the register, cancelled the cocktail bill, printed out a bill for 5 beers, and got back to their table. The man got confused when he saw that the price is higher now, as if I didn't explain it to him 2 minutes ago. But after a bit of mumbling in his beard, he finally paid for the bill he wanted to get. I can understand him getting confused at first because the guy said, "Oh, I won't charge you for the Mai Tais," but if he'd have just waited for 1 minute and let the guy explain, then maybe you wouldn't have to pay extra. This isn't Italian pizza. I was working at a restaurant bar last summer as a pizza guy, and I gave a helping hand to the kitchen when they needed it. One time, one certain customer asked for a pizza and said, "You should make like they make them in Italy." This was my second workplace where I was baking pizza, so I do know my work quite well. I was in Italy and I know how it tastes. Not really that different from those I was making. So I made him a default pizza that he ordered because I didn't get what he wanted me to do with the pizza to make it more Italian. As I was going to cut it into slices, he was passing by and glanced over and asked if it's his pizza, and after getting verification that it indeed is his, he asked me to make the crust more crunchy and burn it a little. I told him that the pizza itself will burn then, and it won't be a pleasant meal. Well, he didn't listen, and he told me that a person that wasn't in Italy can't make a good pizza and so on. I tried to explain to him why I can't, so what he wants, but he finished with, "The customer is always right, isn't it that way?" I thought that he'll get what he wants. "Yes, excuse me sir," I answered. 2 to 3 minutes later, I served him his pizza, and he was happy with the crust. I left with the biggest grin on my face. I knew what was going to happen next. He came by angry AF in less than a minute after getting it. He started screaming that I purposely burnt his pizza and asked for a manager. I had a really nice and chill manager who knew me, and I wouldn't serve a dish looking like that. The slice wouldn't even bend if you lift it. So I explained the situation and finished with these words: "The customer is always right, so I did as the gentleman pleased." He didn't get a refund or anything, so he paid €9 for a burnt pizza, ate only 1 slice and left. You get what you ask for. I just love how this guy says, "Oh, do it like they do in Italy," but has no idea what that actually means. University compliance. It's been 5 years since I got my degree, and I was reminded today of this moment of petty revenge through compliance. Brief explanation first. In my country, university students used to have a student booklet where professors recorded course attendance and exam results. My university switched to a digital system shortly after I started, so I was in one of the last years to be issued a physical booklet. I used my booklet for the first year, then there was a transition period where professors would record exam results both in the booklet and in the online portal. And eventually, in my final years, they moved to digital only, and we were told the booklet was no longer needed. Now, the story. I am about to get my master's degree, and I have just barely managed to complete my thesis in time to graduate. Both my advisors have approved my thesis and signed all the documents I need. This was super hard because one of them was hardly ever in his office, and I only managed to track him down after exchanging several emails and phone calls explaining how I urgently needed his signature before the deadline. He was a good person and a great mentor, and I really enjoyed working with him on my thesis. But he was one of those absent-minded academic types who couldn't grasp the concept of a deadline if it hit him repeatedly with a large stick. I finally collect the last signature on a Friday afternoon, sprint across town, and arrive at the admin offices an hour before closing time. It was the very last day to submit a request to graduate, and you would think that most students would have submitted their requests well in advance to avoid the risk of not graduating until the next semester, pay for another year of tuition, and so on. However, quite a few, like me, had troublesome advisors that forced them to wait until the last possible minute. So on that final day, there was a bit of a queue. But I think to myself, I'm fine, I'm here with all my documents and stuff, I've double and triple checked that I have all the required signatures and whatnot. Finally, one of the admins calls my number. In this story, I will call him GOAWLTMLDFS, which is short for grumpy old admin who like to make life difficult for students. No, who am I kidding? I'll call him Grumpy. Afternoon, I'm here to submit a request to graduate. This is my documentation. I placed my documents and signed thesis on his desk. Hold on, missy. First I have to check if you passed all your exams. Otherwise, there is no point doing all the paperwork. Of course, my student ID is 24601. At this point, what he should have done was enter my ID in the online system and check I was marked as passed all exams, can graduate. FYI, this has since been automated so that nobody had to check manually, but we were still in a transition period. Of course, Grumpy decides not to do this online check and instead looks at me like I'm dense. I need your student booklet so that I can check you've passed your exams. I didn't think to bring my booklet with me. My year isn't using booklets anymore. We're using the digital system. If you check, you'll see that I passed all. Grumpy, now louder. I can't check if you don't give me your booklet. But even if I gave you my booklet, it doesn't have all my exams because my exams from last year were recorded online only. Then afterwards, I'll check your online booklet. Good, so can you check online now? You're not listening to me. First you give me your booklet, I check your booklet, then if it doesn't have all your exams, I check online. But my booklet does not have all my exams recorded. Can't you just check online since it's what you would have to do anyway? The rules say you have to give me your booklet first. At this point, he was getting very red-faced. I tried showing him a page I had printed, listing all the requirements for submitting a request to graduate, which did not mention the booklet at all, but instead said, basically, check online if student passed exams. He refused to look at it, and instead pointed to an older sheet of paper taped on the wall next to his desk. It was a previous version of the list I had, from maybe 1 or 2 years before, and he told me to read it. I read out loud the part that said, basically, student will present booklet and or online system must show that student passed exams. Grumpy, as I'm literally reading the part that contradicts what he's saying, see, you can't even read. You must give me your booklet now, otherwise you don't get to graduate. Stop asking for special treatment. If you didn't bring your booklet, it's your fault. This guy sounds dead serious, and for a moment, I think he's really going to stop me from graduating. My booklet is at home, but it's over 1 hour round trip, and by the time I get back to the office, it will be closed. However, while Grumpy is trying to shoo me away, I see a very interesting notice taped to the wall. You don't have a booklet, your request to graduate is denied. Those are the rules. Next! Hold on please, there is one more thing. I would like to request a replacement booklet. Lost it, have you? Young people nowadays, always careless with your possessions. Back in my time, blah blah blah. Anyway, fill this form and come back in 2 weeks to get your new booklet. Me pointing to the sign on the wall, it says here that in exceptional circumstances, students can get replacement booklets on the same day. So what? This is an exceptional circumstance because I need my booklet to graduate. No, you're not graduating. Me still pointing, it says right there for students who need it for an exam or are about to graduate in the next session. You haven't lost your booklet, you just forgot it. You don't need another. Oh, but the rules on this old outdated printout from years ago say students must carry their booklet at all times on campus and are responsible for getting a replacement ASAP if they lose it. I'm just following the rules. Long story short, he issues me a replacement booklet on the spot. This took a while on this already busy day, as I had to fill a few forms, print everything, sign and stamp it. Oh, and by the way, the booklet came updated with all my info from the online system. And guess who had passed all her exams? Yep, me. So, he very ungraciously hands me the booklet and shoos me away. Or at least tries to. Thanks. There is just one more thing. I plop the booklet on top of my pile of documents and slide it back towards him. I would like to submit a request to graduate. Some of these old admin workers are just so petty all the time. Why do you need to make everything so hard for yourself and other people? Father forbids me from using electronics. Enjoys having a smart ass for a son. So it all starts in primary school. I had done something to anger my father. Neither he nor I know what it was, as it has been over 10 years. He was angry enough to forbid me from using electronics for a month. My mother, as well as myself, found the punishment to be excessive for what I did, but my father had a row of bad days and exploded easily if you pushed him far enough. Here comes the malicious compliance. He forbid me from using any electronics. So, being the smartass I am, I packed every electronic device in a box and put it under my bed with all of them turned off. I could get up early without any alarm, but it never worked all the time. Some information about the situation. I used to wake everyone up by getting up in the morning and going to take a shower, and I made breakfast for me and my brother. So, after a week with no electronics, it finally happened. I woke up an hour late. I woke my father up an hour late, and I did not have time to make breakfast for school. My father was not happy to be late, but accepted it as a mishap that would happen rarely anyways. But all continued after I arrived at school for the third period. My teacher was very angry because I arrived so late and I was punished by having to do extra homework. Now comes the best part. This day was a project day right before the fall break. We had the same teacher for the day. One part of this day was a movie that was important for the lessons to come after it, and the teacher would discuss it with us over the last week before the break. She got the TV and switched it on, but I left the room. The teacher followed me and tried to tear me a new one for leaving, but I told her that I had been forbidden from using any electronics for 3 more weeks, and that I wouldn't do anything until I was not punished anymore. My teacher was strict, but knew that I was a stubborn person, and that she would have to call my father to lift the punishment. So, she called my father as I refused that as well, and instead of doing it to me, tore him a new one for not being specific. My father then asked to be put on speaker, and he lifted the punishment entirely. It seemed that he had had enough of me being a smartass at that point. I'm really confused why their dad, relied on them to wake him up in the morning for work or whatever. Surely he can just get himself an alarm or something. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like. And if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.